do keep spinning around lap after lap after lap. And the way it works is we'll start with one of the teaching styles and somebody will tell us one component of that teaching style and we'll just not reading them off your things necessarily. You can use it as a reference, but there may be more that are just on your things. But let's see what we remember and what we know, not referencing stuff, okay? So kind of set aside your sheets and let's just see what we know and then we'll talk through it a little bit and we'll just keep going around until we've gone through all of it and then we'll watch some videos and see if we can figure out what's going on in those videos. Okay, cool. So the way it'll start is like this. Uh, let's see. Let's start down at the bottom for me, which is with Barb. And our first one is command. What is an element? Let me ask it this way first, Barb. What end of the spectrum would command be on? Is that on a reproduction or a production side of the spectrum?
Leave it on the reproduction.
Yeah, reproduction. Why is that?
Because they're going to do exactly what you do or what
Yep,
you're
we're
told.
trying to get them to duplicate, reproduce what it is that we're telling them to do. Okay, great. And then Mark, what's one of those elements of command?
Do what I'm doing.
Okay, great. Yep. Tara, what's another element?
You provide a cadence.
Generally, a cadence can be effective. Okay, great. A rhythm or a cadence. Yep, great. Rich, what's another element?
Is that a phrase? No.
Yeah, you can have a phrase again, and that kind of goes into that cadence
Oh,
thing for sure. You can have a little, like a mantra thing or something that you're saying. Yeah, like push, pull, repeat, push,
Yeah.
pull, repeat, whatever it might be. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Debbie, how about for you? Something else?
Few things can we come up with? Yeah,
There's a couple. So how about on the feedback side of things? How does feedback work in command?
you're just trying to reproduce what you've seen, not change it. You're just very precise reproduction.
Yeah, and so when we think about the feedback is like, hey, Debbie, watch. Woo, whatever it is you're doing, putting it into your toes. Watch, putting it into your toes. Like the feedback mechanism is basically repeating the mantra and giving them an exemplar demo. Like if you're doing command, the demo has to be really good, right? It can't be fuzzy because you're asking them to reproduce what you're saying and telling them to do. So they need to be able to see what it is. It makes it a lot easier if it's consistent. Every time they look up, I think about it. It's the thing about yoga that I can get really frustrated about is that if you have a yoga teacher that's not that good, every time you look up, they're in a different pose or in a slightly different position. You're still trying to get into the one that they asked you about. It's like, wait, I need to see where I need to be, right? So command needs to be consistent demo quality. Okay. Anything that we're missing on command?
No.
Everybody feel good about it? Good enough. Okay. What about practice? So we're on Sally. Practice. What is an element of practice?
Um, individual students individually practice what they've been taught.
Okay.
So not
Yep.
working together.
Okay. And Mark, how about what's another one?
Let me think. Sorry.
Okay.
There's still the component of the teacher demonstrating, right? Or the instructor demonstrating the skill.
Yeah,
So,
really clear what it is you want them to
yep,
go practice, right? Either a description or a demonstration, but
yep.
the task is quite clear. It's not go explore it and find different ways to do it. It's, hey, this is what we're going to practice. Okay, great. Tara, what's another element?
The feedback's connected to that direct thing that they were doing.
Okay. Yeah. And really there's not a lot of feedback unless it's kind of tragic what's going on. Like they're just kind of sorting through that. We don't want to be on top of them when they're doing it. This is their time. It's an independent little session. Um, and if we do need to give feedback, we draw it back to exactly what we were doing. Great. Rich, what's another element? pretty important one.
The important one.
Yeah,
Try not to look at the list.
that's okay.
Um,
Take a peek at the list. That's fine.
Students work independently. I'm not.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we want to set the parameters of the session, right? So that means time. Like we want to
Time.
give them,
Okay.
hey, 8 minutes. I want you to go work on this, right? Go do it for 8 minutes. Like really go at it, So we're saying we're really, really controlling if this is still on the reproduction side, right? This is not over on the production side. This is usually what follows command. You kind of get them going it. Now go practice it for 5 minutes on your own. Like that's a way that it could kind of come about. Then come back together and we'll see where we're at. Like that's a typical way that practice might go. Okay. Dropping back down to Barb. How about self-check?
Hmm. Um, oh, that's giving them something that they can check themselves, whether they can see. I mean,
Whether they what?
whether they can do it or not. They can, did I like putting your boat against the dock without touching it? They could just check that themselves to make sure that their speed draw is good. So coming up with a
No, that's probably not it. Mm-mm. It's probably using markers into percentages in our other little breakout room. I'm saying I'm pretty 85 to 95, 100% that's not it.
teacher sets a task and provides criteria for success.
Criteria. Yeah. So what's the criteria? So you were saying, well, there's the dock there, and if you're not going sideways, if you're not what? Like, what is it? We want criteria for success. So if it's not, first of all, this is what it looks like when it works. If it's not working, these are the things you could check to get back on pace, right? Did the top hand finish over the water? Did I put my whole blade in the water? Was I looking where I wanted to go? Like those are my 3 self-check things. There's my little self-check. So when the boat isn't going perfectly sideways to the dock, I love that you have something to measure it. That's great. But then they want to be able to go down their checklist to figure out why it's not going that way, why they're unable to do it. Does that make sense? For instance, we may give you a self-check. In fact, we will. It'll be in the resources of like, hey, I didn't have my session yesterday was not great. Okay, well, here's the 3 components that we want you to check in. Did you do an inclusive welcome? Were you using effective teaching techniques? And did I have an intentional debrief? Like that's a self-checklist right there that you all will have with you all the time to think about, like as a way to start to hone in on what might need to change in your teaching or in your session delivery. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else with that? Where's the feedback come from?
I would say the student.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Yeah, you're right on point. And that's where having that, specific thing that you're trying to measure it against is great. But it is from them, right? And that's why they have this checklist, because could be inside of a session, but most often it's once they've left and they're going off on their own and trying to learn how to do this stuff. Okay. Let's see. How many have we done now? 3?
Yes.
Okay. Inclusion would be to Tara. What's an element of inclusion?
An element of inclusion is that you set a task that has multiple entry points for
Okay.
different
Great.
learners.
Yep. What else? Rich, what's another another element of that? There's 2 more that are pretty critical, I think, that we want to keep in mind with inclusion. Anybody can go ahead. I'm sorry, Rich.
No, go ahead.
Anybody have any thoughts without looking it up, what one of the other 2 things might be?
Environmental challenge? Or is that already part of the?
It could be environmental challenge, but not necessarily. Like that would be optional. But you could use different environments as those entry points that Tara refer to. But there's two things about
Is it the common learning or it's like their entry point is different, but the goal or the thing that they're
yeah, so
exploring?
one of the things is that it'd be great if the learning outcome is consistent or common for all the folks, regardless of where they entered into it, right? So if you're playing around with doing pinwheels, spinning around in a pinwheel on an eddy line, okay, you can either go at the top, at the middle, or at the bottom and start to play with it and feel it. Like it doesn't matter whatever your comfort level is, but the takeaway is when we come back together as a group, wherever you entered it, we should be talking about the same things. Oh, I really noticed the pressure on my boat. And then if I did this, I could let that pressure go. And then if I turned my head, oh my God, the boat came with me. And then if I edged the other way, is like caught this current, like they would know we'd be talking the same language, even though we hit it at different challenge levels. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And it's a hard one. This is a really hard one to do. The other bit is, and this is key to inclusion, it's their choice. They choose where to engage with the challenge. We don't say, hey, I want you to go to the top of the eddy because you're Mr. Badass, right? You're not putting people on the spot like that. You let them choose where they want to engage with that challenge. You're giving multiple entry points, but they make the decision. That's really important. Everybody clear on that one? Does that sound
So
familiar
do you,
again? Go ahead, what?
so do you not necessarily identify the risks, but you do you just explain different points that they could do it, or do you describe what they might feel at those points? Or
I guess it would depend. I mean, the risks are the same. Like in that, so if we're using the analogy of the eddy line, the risks are the same. Like I mean, I guess it depends on where you're doing it. If you're doing it in front of a bunch of trees where they could get stuck in trees if they tipped over, but I don't consider capsize a risk, and I wouldn't ever present it as such because then you're locking people up. And so, yeah, like if you've been doing this for a bit and you feel comfortable with eddy lines, whatever. Or it could, yeah, I I would try and be as less specific as possible would be my suggestion, and then go from there, right? Because you're kind of also it's a way that you can assess them and see what they think they know and where they're at. And the hard chargers go in there and, oh, I'll go out in the 20 knot winds, no problem. And they get blown all the way around the corner, around the headland, right? As they're still trying to turn that Nordcap around. Like, okay, maybe you could spend a little time with us over here, in the 10 knot winds behind the pier, like getting good about using the water to turn our boat. So, okay, cool. How about, let's see, that was 4. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Because I don't have the list at all. I'm totally doing this from my head. So,
Reciprocal.
yeah, if we're going down the list, then yeah, reciprocal would be next. Okay. So tell us about it. Sally, what's reciprocal?
Reciprocal is you've the students already have a skill at a task. You ask them to pair up or go in threes, and with specific components of that skill, check each other's ability to do it. And so they give each other feedback. We don't.
Okay. So, yep. So I agree in principle with what you just described. What are some key elements that make it effective? Mark, what do you think? What's one key thing, if we're doing reciprocal, what Sally just described, what's really important?
Clearly defining what the goal is. So what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, so clear with what the task is. I agree with
Yes.
that. Rich, what's another really important? Yeah, because if they're getting feedback on, they don't really know
one
if it's
element
kind of
to,
mushy,
yeah,
then it gets totally out of hand, right? So
right.
what's another element of it?
One element to provide feedback on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Mark is right in that we want to have specific, this is the task. Now here's feedback you're going to give to your partner. And it's very specific. Like it is very specific. right? And it's very clear cut. There's no, oh, kind of, it's like it's this or that, and they're not making judgments. They're just observing it and giving that observational feedback. They're not trying to make it better. They're not doing anything but just giving that one, maybe two, but one is best. One piece of specific feedback. Okay, cool. Tara, you got another element of reciprocal.
Um, you, it's kind of on feedback, but it's you're not doing it. Like it's something that they're off doing.
Yeah, what are you doing?
You're observing
Yeah.
and you've set the task and the time, and you're giving them like this number of reps, or this is when you're going to come back for it. That's kind of what Mark said.
Okay, cool. And bar, well, this is a good one for bar. Is there one more thing that can be really effective when we're using reciprocal?
Well, I came like the debrief per se, where they're going to kind of share what they discovered or experienced. It's probably not on the list, but
Well, it doesn't have to be on the list though. So, yeah, I think that's really important because you have to tie it all together because that could be your last chance to even understand what their takeaways were, right? So you just send them out there like we kind of want to know what their takeaways are, because they could have the takeaway that is completely opposite of what you were trying to get across, right? And then you might have to reflect on, that's interesting. Like, am I have been doing this wrong the whole time or less effective or like, is that better? But we'd want to have some clarity as a group. And then because the idea is that we're letting them go and work independently and then coming back and we're still a big team sharing that information. So I think the debrief is really important. Good. There's one more thing that can really be effective with reciprocal. Anybody know? It would flow into our flowing. So reciprocal is a great place to build a progression. And if you're really dialed in on your component skills, you can build that progression by those pieces of feedback, right? First, we're looking at all we're doing is giving a feedback on whether the whole blade was in the water, nothing else, right? Because we felt that that was our most important component skill. Then you could layer in the next one and then the next one. And you could do this for 8 skills if you wanted to. You could mix up partners, whatever, and then have this completed thing. So it's a great place to do progressions based on your component skills. Okay, let's see here. Next one would be, let's bounce around. Let's go to divergent discovery. Let's just go for it right now. Let's ask Debbie, what's your thoughts on divergent discovery, Debbie?
Divergent, you've got different things and you got to bring it together in the discovery.
Potentially. Okay.
Is that the one where you can have different things?
Yeah, you don't know what the outcome could be. Like you've given them a challenge and to go do this exploration, go see the classic one, how many different ways can you get your boat to go sideways, right? That's a divergent discovery exercise, right? There's a bunch of different ways, right? There's not just one way. Your job in divergent then would be to bring it back and say, okay, now which of those would we consider to be effective? Right. And then you might have to define that and then send them off again. And you're still probably going to get 3 or 4 different ways to go sideways. And you have to be able to give value to all those things, even if you think it's not a thing or you've never seen it before, or you know that another way is more effective. You still have to be able to give, well, you don't have to. If you want to be the instructor you all say you want to be, you would need to give value to what they bring back and then do the exploration of that thing, right? Is it effective? How are we determining whether something is effective? Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts on divergent?
Sometimes we don't intend to do divergent, and that's what happens.
Yeah, oftentimes. Yeah, it happens a lot. And it can really get away from you. Like it can really get away from you. Yeah, we think we're just doing a guided or a conversion, and it actually becomes this crazy divergent thing. And then we don't have the ability to rein it in. We stop then you start to devalue people because you asked them to go do this thing and you're like, oh, no, no, not that. And no, we want to do this, but you said, and it can turn into a mess. So that's a tricky one. Okay, what about convergent? Mark, you have any thoughts on convergent discovery? What are the hallmarks?
I'm stumped right
Okay.
now.
Barb, you have any thoughts? You know anything about convergent? Do you remember?
You want them to land, they can go, you're setting a problem for them, but you're very detailed in where they need to land. And they can try to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, and so convergent usually we think about is that there's a place that we want to land, right? There's an answer that we think is the answer, 9. Okay. But there's multiple ways to arrive at that answer. You could add 5 plus 4, that's 9. You could multiply 3 times 3, that's 9. Like there's many ways to get to 9, but we're all going to get to 9, right? So you can go out there and offer them, hey, here's the challenge, go figure out what we need to do, but where we need to get to in the end is a common place. The key with it is that you're giving them the tools to solve the problem. And I think that, well, yeah. We have a really good video that came about from Tybee, where you can see where we layered in the tools to make sure they had the tools so that then they could solve the bigger problem. In the end, we did it that first day of Sally and Mark and Debbie, you might remember, that whole first morning and into the first part of the afternoon where we started with some activities and then blindfolds and everything. We finally got to a place where people could be rescuing each other without boats and chasing down boats with blindfolds on and no talking. But we gave you the tools to be able to do that first. We didn't just say, everyone put on blindfolds, nobody can talk, all the boats get sent out into the current. Now figure it out. We didn't do that, right? That would have been, you know,
Scary.
oh, I wouldn't have been scary. It just would have been, we would have been the ridicule of Tybee Island for years to come. Like it would have been. They would have been talking about it all the time. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so conversion is commonplace, multiple ways to end up there. Okay, but you still kind of have control of where they're going to end up. And then our last one would be guided. What is guided all about? Let's see, Rich, what do you think?
Guided discovery.
Yeah, guided discovery, sorry.
Discovery. Try to trying to.
It's all good. You can pass if you
Yeah.
want.
Okay, I'm gonna pass. I can't quite frame that.
Right on. Barb, do you have a
Okay.
thought on it?
Um, you're kind of you're asking questions and giving them tasks to land and in a spot where you want them to land. So they're not off figuring it out. You're kind of asking the questions to guide them to where you want them to go.
Yeah, so generally, you are asking questions that only have one possible answer, right? And that's what you're using to get them to wherever it is you're trying to get them to go, right? That's how you're guiding them along. But it isn't like, oh, I wonder the best way to go straight, right? It's like if I put my blade in like this versus like that, which one is going to work better for going straight? You know what I mean? Like it's very, very crisp. There's only one answer to the question. There isn't multiple answers that it could be, right? The task is solved by doing this one thing. And in doing that, you start to discover whatever the bigger picture thing might be that you have. Does that make sense to everybody?
Question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Comparing convergent discovery with guided.
Yeah.
There's a difference, but they both end up at the answer you want, right?
100%. Yep.
So can you,
Go ahead.
or I need a description of the difference or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. So again, The simplest way, like, so it could be in convergent. I'm trying to think of a paddling example that'll be easy to explain to you right now. So it could be okay, we've done this before. What is the most effective way to use our paddle to go sideways? So go out there and figure it out.
So that's convergent,
Yeah, because there's multiple ways to do it.
multiple ways. Okay.
Yep, but there's really only two, and they have the concept is the same. So you could do it as a pry, or you could do it as a pull, right? To move your boat sideways. We could pull our boat sideways, or we could pry it or push it sideways. Yep. But we're still using the blade oriented perpendicular to the direction of travel. Are you with me? If this is a blade,
Yeah.
right? Here's my boat. I can push my boat this way by pushing. There I go. Or I could pull my boat this way. Okay. The answer is that the blade is perpendicular to the direction of travel. That's where the power is. But I could do it either way. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
That's convergent.
Okay.
Okay. Guided would be, is it better to do it like this or like this?
Oh,
It's obvious this isn't going to go anywhere, right? If it's slicing towards me, I don't know if you could, I don't know how this is coming across on the screen.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, that's slicing, that's pulling. Boop, there I go sideways, right? It is very binary. It's like, is this better or is this better? Is it better? Go out and try it. Is it easier to catch a wave when you're upside down or when you're upright?
Uh-huh.
You tell me, right?
Uh,
It's super obvious, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we kind of got those freshened up a little bit. And there's these things blend together and they're quite nebulous and it's not always perfect, but we're trying to get us to think on these. And remember, we're only going to ask you to get really good at 3 of them. So you don't have to remember all of them. So don't get overwhelmed by that. And we've chosen the 3 that in our experience, watching and doing and reflecting and seeking out consultations for the last 2 years. Like these are the 3 that if we can get pretty good at these, we can be delivering the kind of sessions you all are talking about. And then you can always riff and build off of that. Okay. Cool.